Hey everyone, I'm Andy,
And I'm Sean.
and this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Magic, the Bachelorette.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the Commander's Brew right here on YouTube. If you like what you're seeing and you want to support us, quick and easy, free way to do it is to hit subscribe down below. It does a lot for us. But if you want to get involved directly, you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. You can donate to the show directly there and get in on some perks. One of them being our Discord. You can become a member of that community and help us actually brew these decks and hang out with us in the Discord. We got people playing spell table games in there, lining up online games, hangouts and stuff. We're shared memes. We're having a laugh in there. It's a great time. So check us out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, we're going to get to this week's deck tech. Sean, I'm very excited about this week's deck tech. This is a bit of a crossover for me. As you know, I hosted a different podcast that's been on a little bit of a hiatus, but it might be coming back currently, but it was called the Bachelor Pod. I used to watch The Bachelor with my wife and our two friends, and then we record podcasts about it. In addition to my Magic the Gathering podcast. Well, never did I think the two would ever intertwine. But here we are, and it has happened because we needed a break. We needed a break from all the stuff happening, both in the world and even in Magic. And we needed to just have some fun. We just needed to cut loose and get back to just a classic fun theme deck. I mean, you had a great one last week that had a great theme to it. This one is no different, except for the fact that it just leans even harder into the theme side of things. So if you'll remember, when we used to do two decks an episode, there was a couple of shows where Sean and I would do like the Avengers or Lord of the Rings as a deck and that sort of thing. So I still think it's great for all of us to have one of those decks in our like repertoire, so that when we're out and we just feel like having just a silly, fun sit down game with a bunch of friends, it's fun to bring those decks out sometimes because they're generally pretty evenly matched in power, and to see a person's deck play out and to see the story of their deck is super fun. So this is one of those decks, and I couldn't be more excited to bring to you guys Magic the Bachelorette. That's right, Magic the Bachelorette. It's happening. Look, Claire Crawley is this season's Bachelorette. Spoiler alert. Word is she leaves halfway through the season, and our friend Tasha gets back in there. Anyways, that probably means nothing to you if you don't watch the series, but that's fine. This is an idea that was given to me by Sarah. I was looking for a deck idea, and she just said that as a joke, and I was like, you know what? I actually think that's a fine idea, and I think it could be really great. So in our deck, we're going to tell a little bit of a story. We're going to run through some of the classic things you'll see on the Bachelor and Bachelorette series. As you notice right now, we're standing in front of the Bachelor Mansion, classic set piece from both shows. So who's our Bachelorette? Sean, maybe you can do the honors and read our Bachelorette.
Sure, she's the captain of a major vessel, and she doesn't take any guff from anyone, and she's looking for love. It's Sisay Weatherlight Captain. 2 and a white, legendary human soldier, 2/2. Sisay Weatherlight Captain gets +1/+1 for each color among other legendary permanents you can control. And if you pay Wooburg, you get to search your library for any legendary permanent with mana cost less than Sisay's power, put it under the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. Sisay takes charge and picks her suitors right from inside the deck.
That is exactly right. So, legendary permanents only. Not all of our bachelors are legendary. Let's face it. Some of the guys go home on night one, and then some of the guys stick around. So Sisay is able to pick the cream of the crop, though, the best of the best, and she'll give them a go and see how they work on the battlefield and see if it's something that she's interested in. If she wants to give them a rose, if she wants to complete this journey with them. So
now, Andy,
yeah,
I know that we want Sisay to give out a rose for the best first impression. So that's right. Who's gonna get her first impression rose?
So we're gonna meet the bachelors here. This is just like on the show. You actually meet the bachelors before You know, they post them online, a lot of them, and you get to see a lot of them. So this is what we're doing. Before we get into the actual show, we're going to meet the Bachelors. And like you said, Sean, there's always a front runner night one. There's always, you got to give out the first impression rose. Very important part of the show. Oddly enough, the first impression rose is often the winner of the entire series. It's like a 40% or maybe even higher than that chance that the person who gets the first impression rose on The Bachelor or Bachelorette will win the entire series.
It almost suggests you don't even need to do the whole show.
And that's, I think that's what happens with Claire Crawley in this current season of The Bachelorette. I think she meets someone and just like, I don't need to do the rest of this. Like, I found someone I like. So, you know, I think that if you look through this deck, you will find that this probably is the best card. It's Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. That's right. We're kind of throwing some budget restrictions out the window for this deck because we wanted some things to really land and really hit. And like Teferi, you know, he's a front runner. He's going to get the first impression rose. This is just a strong card. 3 blue, white. The legendary Planeswalker. 4 loyalty, +1 to draw a card at the beginning of the next end step. You untap 2 lands. Honestly, what these cards do is not as important as the way they look. But you know Teferi. Also, he's the -3 where you tuck something third from the top, and then the -8 is like you get an emblem with whenever you draw a card, you exile a permanent an opponent controls. Great card, but look at this guy. He is you know, he could be Idris Elba's twin brother. He is a handsome man. He's got a lot going for him. This guy's got it all right where you want it to be, and he's going to get that first impression rose.
Great.
Sean, another bachelor that we have here ready to meet our eligible bachelorette is the type of person who is like, obviously though, even though this guy gets the first impression rose, there's always somebody there who's like the hot one.
I think we can all agree that this bachelor has everybody's hearts physically.
Yes, exactly.
This is Oko, Thief of Crowns.
Yes.
Look at how casually he's sitting there with that leaf. Don't you just want to brush that leaf off of his torso?
Just get that out of there.
Yeah. 1 green, blue. Like I said, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't really matter what the card does. I'll tell you when it matters what the card does.
Okay, he makes food tokens. He turns things into elks, and you get to trade. You get to trade a food, artifact or creature you control for someone else's thing that has power 3 or less. But we all know Oko can get it.
Yeah, Oko can get it. That's true. And like, he is definitely that guy who's like the villain of the show, kind of also, who she just inexplicably is just still attracted to the whole time. And you're just like, this guy sucks. He's a bad guy. He ruined a whole standard environment for a long time. That's Oko. And he's got that slamming bod, and you can't blame her. You know what I mean?
Cannot.
And again, this happens both Bachelor and Bachelorette. We're just using Bachelorette because that's the current season right now we're in. Yeah. There's also always classically the Bachelor who has a bit of a sad backstory, and perhaps he could even be one of the older gentlemen on the show. You know, there's always that person who's like, they're all like in their early 30s, and then this guy's the only 40-year-old. And well, not that that's old, obviously, but for the Bachelor season, it kind of is. Feldon of the Third Path is here. The 1 red, human artifice of the 2/3. You know, he brings things back from the graveyard and makes some artifacts, and you get token copies of them and stuff. He's a great card. But also, Feldon is a widower. You know, he's a sad story. You know, he's looking for love because his wife tragically passed away, and he's on this show. He wants to make an honest go of it. You know, he's probably going to shave his beard before the producers allow him in the mansion. But you know, Feldon is a classic Bachelor contestant.
Yeah. So you know, there's always that guy who. So
I just realized, Sean, I wrote in the notes a person, like I referenced a specific person, and I'm like, oh, you don't know who that is.
No, I don't know who that is, but I do know the archetype.
Yes,
there's like one person who's like tagging along, trying a little too hard, and we all know that this person has 0 chance.
Yeah,
we know that I don't even know what they're doing here. So this is our doomed traveler.
Yeah,
single white human soldier, 1/1. When it dies, you make a 1/1 white spirit token so that they can haunt the mansion.
Yeah,
and just watch everyone.
And you know what? The guy I specifically referenced here, I believe was from Caitlin Bristow's season, and it was this guy Tanner who was a pretty cool dude and everything, and he made it so far in the show without her showing any interest in him whatsoever. He was like the fourth gone, and it's just like at one point he was just like, I'm just here for this vacation. Like he just knew what he was doing. He knew he was doomed, but he was traveling around the world and having a great time. And his spirit did haunt the show because he did come back in Bachelor in Paradise, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Doomed Traveler, great card. You know what? There's also always some joker with a guitar in these shows. Honestly, night one, he breaks it out, he sings her a song, and you're just like cringing. This is terrible. And really, he's on the show just to get a record deal. Yisan the Wanderer Bard. He's, this is him. Tuner Green for the 2/3 Human Rogue. You put verse counters on him, you get creatures from your library. It's great. Great card. Honestly, very good card. Legendary, see? Some of these things are legendary. Legendary planeswalkers, legendary creatures. Felden was legendary too. So this deck does function. I do want to say this deck does function. It's a kind of like a pile of good stuff with like a slight legendary under theme kind of going on. So the deck does play, and you can do some fun stuff with it. But for the show, we're gonna be focusing on the story here. So yeah, Yisan is just that guy who breaks out the guitar night one, and you're just like, oh god, not again.
There's another archetype of a person on these shows that kind of like, you just kind of like, why are you doing this? It's the person who's a little too comfortable with their own body, and they just decide to get comfortable by getting totally naked. No one asked for it. They just putting it all out there.
Maybe they had a few drinks on night one. It's a long night. They go deep into the night, and maybe they're like, you know what? I'm going to get naked and jump in the pool.
Yeah. That's Willow Fairy. Yeah. 1 and a green for a 1/2 that flies. Mostly a naked dude with wings.
Just a naked dude with butterfly wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that song Bullet with butterfly wings?
Smashing Pumpkins.
This is naked dude with butterfly wings. So
very
good. This one was given to us by our boy Guy Pizza in our Discord. We have Oko is the villain of the show because he's the person you're kind of you're cheering against because like he seems kind of like a jerk or whatever. But then there's always like the one guy who, again, night one makes it clear he wants to be the villain of the season, but just goes overboard. And he's a challenger troll because he's just there to troll the whole process. Sisay's here looking for love. She's putting her heart on the line. She's putting her heart out there. She's not messing around. But this challenger troll just wants to get his time on TV. He just wants to get he's Waboom. Okay. I'm saying it. He's the guy who I can't remember whose season it was, but the guy had a catchphrase and it was Waboom. And that's what this guy is. He's just some troll. Get out of here. You're trash.
Was he? Okay.
He was garbage. That guy sucked. Yes.
He had a catchphrase and it was Waboom.
It was Waboom.
Yeah. It might as well be Skadoosh. We might as well have Kung Fu Panda on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was very funny, but it was also terrible at the same time. It was great.
Okay, so one more Bachelor.
Yeah.
This is the Bachelor that we predict will win.
Yes.
He's got it all.
Yeah.
He's got the looks. He's got the charm. He's nice, but he's not too nice. He's a little dangerous, but not so dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
He's not afraid to speak his mind, but he's also not afraid to show his emotions or his shirtless body.
Yeah.
It's enthralling Victor, Mr. 12-pack himself.
Yep.
3 in a red, Human Warrior, 3/2. He's an enthralling Victor. His name is Victor, but he will also be the victor of the show. This is a double name. And he is enthralling.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that of all the jokes inside of the game of Magic, I think, Sean, this is easily one of our top 2 favorite jokes, is that the guy's name is Victor.
Yeah. He's enthralling.
It makes me laugh every time I see it. He's enthralling Victor.
Yeah, this is less a Magic card and more of the cover of a Harlequin romance novel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Look at this guy's dashing good looks. So
he's looking at the camera.
He is. He knows where to find his camera. Listen, this is the guy on the show who, even though Teferi and Oko are like the top 2 front runners, a lot of times it will go to that third, like, kind of unexpected person, because what they do, you see, the producers and the editors of the show, they'll downplay certain relationships to make it come out of nowhere. Doesn't happen often, but it has happened in past seasons. So enthralling Victor could be that in our situation is the one who kind of comes out of nowhere and wins the whole thing, wins Sisay's heart.
Yeah.
So we've met our bachelors. We've had a laugh because his name is Victor. In fact, it's not just the fact that he won. So there are even more neat moves. Let's go through the entire season and talk about those neat moves.
Working on a
Meat.
All right. So if you have ever seen The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, you know that there's some certain like things we have to hit, right? Some certain like concrete like things that the show must have, or else it's not The Bachelorette. It's just some other romance reality show, which there's a million of those, right? But there's only one Bachelor/Bachelorette. And some of those things that make that true is the presence of the host. So we need our very own Chris Harrison. And we have decided to represent Chris Harrison by the closest thing we could find that looks like him. It's the best representation, I think. It's Guafa Hazid, Profiteer, another legendary creature. See, this deck works. The 1 white blue, 2/2. So you can put bribery counters on things to make them they can't attack or block, but then they draw a card. So this is kind of like Chris a little bit pulling the strings behind the scenes, which I'm sure he does at some point. You know, he can kind of take guys out if he wants by giving them advice and stuff. He doesn't do this in front of the camera, and it's pure speculation by me. But that's why Guafa Hazid is a good representation. Now, Sean, you have a good representation for Neil Lane, the guy who makes the rings for the show.
Yeah, who better to make the rings than Gaddock Teague? Gaddock Teague looks like a little ring maker.
He looks like Neil Lane.
yeah. Green, white, legendary Kithkin advisor, 2/2. Real bit of a strong hate bear to in the category. No one can play non-creature spells with converted mana cost 4 or greater, and non-creature spells with X in their mana cost can't be cast.
Yeah, Neil Lane pops in the end of every Bachelor or Bachelorette season, and he makes the engagement ring. So we got to represent him. Now, speaking of the thing you see behind us, the mansion.
Yeah.
If you're watching the video, we got to have the mansion represented too, and of course, we'll do that with Overgrown Estate, the black, green, white enchantment that says you sacrifice a land, you gain 3 life. Neat little card, and you know what? I wouldn't call the Bachelor Mansion overgrown, but there's a lot of greenery in and around the actual house. So this one makes a lot of sense.
And then the rose. There's so much pomp and circumstance about the rose itself. The rose in this case is Rose Thorn Halberd.
Yeah.
Green artifact equipment. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to target non-human creature you control.
You can see this. The text on the card doesn't fully match what we're doing here for this one.
You're allowed to. Okay, so that's the free equip. So you can't just hand your rose to a human, but the equipped creature gets +2/+1, and you can equip it for 5 to anybody. So if you really want that person to get their rose, even if they're human, looking at you, Felden, then that's possible.
Yes, that's right. And of course, we mentioned Neil Lane, so we got to have an actual ring. And it just so happens that Sisay, our Bachelorette, will receive her own ring, Sisay's ring, 4 mana for the artifact that says tap, add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool.
That's perfect.
That's perfect. It makes sense. Look at that. Look at that Neil Lane engagement ring. 5 huge diamonds, just on looks like a Trivial Pursuit piece that they just shoved a bunch of diamonds into. It looks great.
I have to say, the setting is gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous setting. You're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, so I've created kind of a little, again, like kind of like the telling of how the season goes. So as we all know, and so I also want to say this: every single card in this deck, if you go and look at the TCG Player link, or if you go look at the deck list, also is up on Wizard Tower, so on MTG Canada. Every single card has a relationship to the Bachelor or Bachelorette. Like, I can explain outside of lands, which we just need to have in the deck, right? There are 2 lands actually that also do. But anyways, every other card does. You can ask me about it if you want. So I'm going to go through and just take you through a couple of the good ones by telling the story too. Sean's going to join me as well, of course. The Bachelorette, of course, is chosen from, if you didn't know this, from previous contestants of seasons past. So we look back and we find bachelorettes from seasons past. 4 green, return a bunch of cards from your graveyard to your hand based on their different CMCs. It's a great card. The men, obviously, when the men are approaching the mansion, what do, Sean?
They make a dramatic entrance.
That's
Play
right.
a green instant, put a green creature card from your hand into play.
Yeah, it's an instant. You can play a card instant speed this way. Also commonly noted as like every season, it's like a joke that Chris Harrison says it's the most dramatic season ever. Like even he knows it's a joke now, and he plays that up quite a bit. So this is also, I found this because I searched for dramatic or drama. Actually, it's the only card I found. So the first night is this is one of the few instances in the deck where the mechanic on the card is the connection. So the first night, of course, is do or die, right? It's do or die. And do or die is a magic card. It's 1 and a black for a sorcery that says separate all creatures target player controls into 2 face-up piles. Destroy all creatures in the pile of that player's choice. They can't be regenerated.
This card's great.
This card's not bad, right? Like,
I mean, you don't get everything you want, but you get half their board for 2 mana. That's pretty good.
2 mana. That's wild. So, yeah, I mean, you're not going to get the one thing you want to die, I don't think, unless they don't know what you want. But, so yeah, just speaking from a Magic card perspective, I'm kind of surprised this card exists. It's pretty good. And I don't believe it's expensive either.
It's $1.75.
Right? 2 mana. Anyways,
yeah.
So this is what happens though on night 1 is that they have like 30 bachelors for the Bachelorette, and then like they only give roses to half of them. So half of them peace out and they're gone, roughly. That has changed from season to season. But anyways, and of course, obviously, what do you do to the bachelorettes that she doesn't, or the bachelors that she doesn't pick?
You eliminate them. They get eliminated. 1 in a black instant, destroy a target creature or planeswalker with converted mana cost 3 or less.
Great card. Gotta have it. Also, I will say this, the producers, they work hard, whether it's manipulating the people behind the scenes or simply making travel preparations. 1 in a green, sorcery, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures, and it's got flashback for 1 in a white. Because they travel all around the world. And one of the things that you will always see in whether it's Bachelor, Bachelorette, whenever they'll find some place and they'll go for a little ride.
In a smuggler's copter, 2 mana for an artifact vehicle of flying, cruise for 1 whenever attacks or blocks you loot.
There is always a helicopter. There's never not been a helicopter on The Bachelor or Bachelorette. I promise you that. Okay, Sean, why don't you just read this next line here?
Oh, okay. So people play the game, right? They're not here to make friends. They're here to win.
That's right.
So they will perform a heartless act.
Yeah.
1 in a black, choose 1, destroy a creature with no counters or remove 3 counters. And they will perform that heartless act in an attempt to eliminate the competition. 4 in a black sorcery. As an additional cost, sack X creatures, destroy X target creatures.
You try, yeah. I mean, this one even mechanically kind of makes sense too. You kind of got to get rid of some people to take out the bigger threats in the season. This always happens, right? Someone does that sort of thing. They make that heartless act, right? They become the villain of the show. They're trying to take out one person. They're trying to eliminate that competition. And well, what does the show do? The show doesn't just get rid of the bad person. In fact, they will encourage the Bachelorette to keep him on the show because it's good. It's good TV. And in fact, we have a thing on the show. It's the 2-on-1 date where they'll usually take the 2 people that are feuding and they'll put them on a date with her. So it's like there's always some issue between the 2 men, and then she's got to deal with it, and it's always a mess. So we want a 2-on-1. We want a 2-for-1 because it's going to be the curtains call for one of them, or both. A lot of times she just eliminates both of them. Curtains call, 5 in a black for the instant with Undaunted, which means the spell costs 1 less to cast for each opponent, and you can destroy 2 target creatures. So, I mean, obviously we're probably going to pick our own creatures with this, if we're talking about so hard on the theme, but you know what I mean? It works.
It does. So in this story, as we watch the Bachelorette get to know these bachelors, you get to see the beginnings of a relationship get forged. You can see them cultivate to a degree. Search for two basics, put one in your hand, one on the battlefield tapped. You can see them cultivate a relationship, and while they're doing so, they will look back on this and call it a profound journey. 5 white sorcery. Return target permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. Rebound. Do the same thing again on your upkeep.
I promise you, if you've ever watched an episode of Bachelorette, they will have said the word journey at some point during it. And there was a lot to choose from when it comes to magic cards with the word journey in the name. But profound journey was pretty good. It's right on there. It's a profound journey in your life. Again, one of the hallmark moments of the show is when we get it down, to it's the final 3 contestants. And then what is it time for? The fantasy luxury suite. You've got to have the fantasy suites. It's always the thing. It's like they get to spend the whole night together, no cameras, no producers, no nothing. They can do whatever they want. Some of them take the opportunity to take the next step in their relationship, physically speaking, but some of them just choose to get to know each other away from the cameras, And so we have luxury suite, of course, in the deck. It's the black red. Did we ever name these? Like
Commander lands?
Commander lands? Yeah, they're the ones who come in untapped if you have more than 2 or more opponents.
Yeah.
It's the black red one, yeah. All right, yeah, so there you go.
And you can they say that there's one surefire way to tell if a person is right for you, and that is if you can feel a true love's kiss.
Yeah.
2 white instant, exile target artifact or enchantment, draw a card. Got a bad little commander card.
You know what I mean? You got to have some artifact and enchantment removal to exile it and then to draw a card. Like, this actually is a pretty good commander card. This is what I'm telling you. Like, I only went for theme on these cards. I did not say, look, Willow Fairy is like a 1/2 flyer. Like, it does nothing. But for the most part, we actually got working cards that are actually pretty good. Yeah, True Love's Kiss always happens at the end, of course. Now, little interruption here, because all the past eliminated, before we get to the very end, all the eliminated bachelors, you feel bad for them. The ones we've gotten to know, like the ones that are the guys who finished 3rd, 4th, we've gotten to know these people over a number of episodes of the show. So it'd be a shame if we didn't get to see them anymore. Well, in fact, we do. And they will come back in a little show called Bachelor in Undiscovered Paradise. So Undiscovered Paradise is the magic card. It's a land. It taps to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, and at the beginning of your next untap phase, you return Undiscovered Paradise to its owner's hand. This card is actually expensive. It's like $25 or something.
Wow.
But yeah, so Bachelor in Paradise is, an offshoot of the series, but it's, some might say it's even the better show to watch. So, you get to watch all the different bachelors and bachelorettes from opposing seasons. All the contestants get to be on like in a resort together. And then of course they make, there's relationships all over the place. It's great. It's great TV. So yeah, you'll get to, so seeing now that those guys are all gone, of course she's picked the last person, True Love's Kiss, and they will live happily ever after. Okay, great. Honestly, happily ever after. You might be able to win with this card. It's a 5-color deck, so it's not outside of the realm of possibilities. The life gain might be a little tricky to get going, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So there it is. We made a whole magic deck based on the Bachelorette.
That's amazing. I love a fun theme deck like this. It's so fun when like every card is just like, oh, and then here's this card's angle with my theme.
I know, it's fun. It's just fun to see it. Like, that's why I was like, you know what? I'm going to make every single, because sometimes it's like you make a theme deck like this and you still throw in like, okay, well, I still need like a little mana ramp and I still need some card draw and stuff like that. And like, but this one I was like, you know what? If it doesn't fit the theme, it's not going in. So I had to find the stuff that drew cards and did mana ramp that was actually still fitting. And I think that's a really fun way to do it. Yeah, these decks are great. They're a lot of fun to have around. And when you get to, because like half the fun of Commander for a lot of people, not for everyone, but for a lot of people is kind of being like, look at this card. You want to know what it does in my deck? It does this. And you're like, ooh, good interaction. Really cool. Well, you get kind of the same thing when you're like, I'm going to play whatever, I don't know, luxury suite. I'm going to play eliminate the competition. Like you get to do all those things and talk about how they make sense in your deck. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, this was a lot of fun to brew. Actually, this one was I haven't actually done a hard theme deck like this with our Discord yet. This is the first time I've ever done it, I think. And so I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, maybe there's some folks who they want to brew like a more competitive, like actually kind of more traditional style of commander deck. But it was kind of the opposite. Like people came out of the woodwork to give suggestions for this deck. So one that actually I didn't get to include because it was I'd already made the whole deck and everything. But I just saw on the Discord not that long ago, Clockwork 12 breeding pool. Really good. That's more of a Bachelor in Paradise thing, probably. I feel like there's a lot more. That's so more gross. Of a breeding pool, but yeah. So that was a good include. Chiefy, of course. Braves for Robin. Neo Maxis. Prophet of Aries was the one who he gave us all the rings. He actually listed a bunch of different rings. Lolwa, Jaemon, Guy, of course, coming through with the troll. Joseph. This was Joseph's first one I think just in a while. He hadn't been around for any time we were brewing before. So I think he said like he happened to have the day off. So he was like really stoked to be there. That was a lot of fun. Papa Dio, Dylan PH, Seth, Senator Og, Mr. Big Bents, Andy of the Valley, Pips Don't Lie, Quantum Mechanic, Max Volume. Just a big old fun, just tossing in like anything that we could think of that had to do with the reality show, The Bachelor or Bachelorette. And it was a lot of fun.
Fun.
Well, we've given our Discord helpers a shout out. That means it is time for the budget report. I'm not gonna lie, I ignored budget for this. I just wanted to.
You have to.
I just wanted to hit hard with some fun cards. But if you are looking to build these types of decks in real life, obviously you're not going to break the bank for these. These are not things where like you're probably not going to actually go get Oko and Teferi, they're perfectly reasonable substitutions that are way more on budget if we want to represent the front runner who gets the first impression rose and the villain / hottest one of the season. But just for curiosity's sake, this deck did come in at the one I built at like 180, I think it was around there, 160, 180. So like it's expensive, but it's not like deathly expensive. I wouldn't spend $180 on this deck personally, but yeah. So, and when it comes to like other cards we could maybe include that, would break a bank, I don't see why you would want to, but I guess you could put something like Rings of Bright Hearth, if we're talking about Neil Lane and forging a whole new ring for the Bachelorette. So yeah, you could pop in. I'm just thinking of the most expensive card I could think of that actually would make it all sense. And Rings of Bright Earth is the one. This card's like $60 over. I think it's more than that now. Like 80.
Or did it not come down? Was it reprinted?
It no. It's it's like $60. Yeah.
Yikes.
Crazy. But obviously we're not including that card. Yeah, go nuts with these though. Like this is fun. This is the kind of deck where bulk rares are your best friends, right? You're finding like for this deck, there's so many legendaries that we had in the deck. Like I said, there's a light legendary theme. Like this deck does actually work, and you can lean into that a little bit more to make it a little more functional, or just sift through your commons. One thing that was really good, and I think it was Chiefy that posted this in our Discord. Apologies if it was someone else. I'm giving credit to Chiefy where it doesn't belong. But I'm pretty sure it was him. You can search Scryfall based on tags.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you search the tags, they have art tags, and you can search for like abs was one of the searches. Handsome was another one I did. So you can search based on art tags, and I think you need to be like a not a, what is it, like a member, like one of the paying members of Scryfall to be able to add tags, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah, I think so. It's not fully comprehensive. You can use it, but I know that there's a couple where I'm like, I think there's one I'm thinking of that has not yet been tagged.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I think there's a ton of cards that have not been tagged. But it still helps, if you're doing this kind of like art-based deck. And I think I've mentioned this on the show also, the MTG wiki, the that if you search for MTG Wiki on Google, you'll find it. It's like the first thing that comes up. If you have like, if you're doing anything around like a character or anything like that, like, so I had like Sisay, you can just, you can go to her page on there, and then it'll say all the cards she's mentioned in, all the cards she's depicted in the art, and all that kind of stuff. So you can do that for a lot of other things. So it's really cool. Really, really good resources there. I think I say this every time we do something like this, but it's good to just get it out there.
Yeah.
We do have, I think I forgot to include these in the tabs, Sean. These our last two here.
I've got them queued up.
Okay, great. I will also do that. So, you know what time it is, though, right?
Ooh, time to put on our fanciest tuxedos.
Yes, that is right. It is time for our fanciest tuxedos, because we are now about to take a trip over to Beatrix. Oh, it's lovely to be here. Lovely. We had a short limo ride over, and now here we are at the Beatrix. So good to see everyone. There's Squee. Look at this Squee. He's got a little suit on.
Squee, looking sharp as always. Always a pleasure to have you, Squee. Look over there. It's Willem Dafoe. Hello,
Okay.
Willem.
You're sitting next to Grizzlebrand. Now, you know he's not allowed to be here. He is banned. So that's going to be an issue later, I bet. But, okay, we're here at the Beatrix, and we have two wonderful awards to give away. Sean, I'll let you mention the first one here.
Yes, the first award, the first Audric of the evening for the Too Young to Date Her award goes to Fresh-Faced Recruit. Congratulations.
Congratulations, fresh-faced recruit. There's always one person who's just too young. You know, they're like, you know, the Bachelorette is like 34 years old, and then they brought on like a 22-year-old, and you're just like, this isn't going to work. Fresh-faced recruit. Thanks for being here, though. You know what? And you won an Audric. That's a big deal. You have a bright future, sir. We also have our second Audric of the night was going to the card depicting something that just never happens on The Bachelorette. The more I thought about it, and that is heartwarming redemption. Most of the times you don't get a lot of, you don't see it a lot. I'll tell you this, but this card looks like it's depicting a person coming back to the mansion, maybe after a date, maybe after something's occurred, and he's making up with all of his fellow contestants and having a great time. So this is the one card in the deck where it's actually something that never happens, but because it's like an exact opposite, I thought it was funny to include it. Heartwarming redemption. Congrats on your Audric award.
Congratulations.
And that'll do it. That'll do it for our awards this evening, and for indeed the entire deck.
Yes, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember to have your pet spayed or neutered.
Yes, absolutely. Signing off from the Ravnica Foreign Press. We thank you, and we'll see everyone next time.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.